A woman once whispered the cruelest words to a man who saved her life: "You're just a paramedic." But she had no idea that the same ordinary man would perform the most extraordinary act when her world collapsed in front of her. Keep watching, because the moment everything changes will hit you harder than you expect. Eve Morgan was the kind of surgeon who carried an entire hospital on her shoulders, brilliant, confident, beautiful, and respected by everyone, except for the man she always overlooked. Daniel Hayes, a single dad paramedic, the guy who arrived in an ambulance and left quietly after handing over patients. Eve barely looked at him during shifts. She was too focused on her world of perfection, where titles mattered and status meant everything. Daniel didn't take it personally. Life had humbled him long ago, raising his 6-year-old daughter Lily alone after losing his wife. Every shift he worked wasn't for praise, it was to keep his little girl safe and smiling, but under Eve's polished confidence lived a wall of insecurity she never admitted. She'd grown up being told she had to be the best, number one, flawless, untouchable. So when she heard other surgeons gossip about paramedics being just transport workers, she repeated it without thinking, not realizing Daniel heard her one night. He didn't react. He only lowered his eyes and returned to cleaning blood from his uniform. Eve felt a sting of guilt but pushed it away. She didn't have time for feelings. Everything changed the night the storm hit. The power flickered, roads flooded, and the hospital filled faster than staff could handle. Daniel was already exhausted after a 14-hour shift, but he refused to go home. Then an ambulance screeched into the bay. Eve was inside, unconscious, blood soaking through her scrubs. Her car had skidded off the road. The only surgeon available in the building had collapsed. Panic surged through the ER. The nearest backup surgeon was 2 hours away. The trauma nurse looked at Daniel. "You know her anatomy. You've assisted in field emergencies. She won't make it if we wait." Daniel froze. He wasn't licensed to operate inside a hospital. But he saw Lily in Eve's face. He saw every person he'd ever tried to save. That was enough. With trembling hands but a steady heart, Daniel stepped in. The room fell silent. He performed an improvised emergency thoracic procedure, calling instructions like he'd done 100 times in the back of ambulances, but this time, under bright lights with dozens watching. For a moment, Eve's heart stopped. Daniel's breath caught, then, it returned. A weak but steady beat. She lived. Hours later, Eve woke up, groggy, confused. Daniel sat beside her, still in the same dirty uniform, head bowed. When she whispered his name, he stood, ready to leave to avoid awkwardness. But she grabbed his wrist. Her eyes filled with tears, not fear, but realization. "You saved my life," she said softly. "You're alive." "That's what matters," Daniel replied. "I'm sorry I ever disrespected you," she whispered. "You're not just a paramedic. You were my only surgeon when I needed one most." Daniel looked away, uncomfortable with praise, but Eve continued, "You have a courage I don't. You didn't care about rules or titles, you cared about me." For the first time, she truly saw him, not the uniform, not the job title, but the man. Eve spent weeks recovering, and Daniel checked on her every shift. Their conversations grew longer, softer. Lily started joining them, always holding Eve's hand like she was already family. Eve found herself laughing more, breathing easier, learning that strength didn't always come wearing a white coat. One evening, Eve watched Daniel teaching Lily how to read, his voice gentle and patient. She realized something she'd never felt before: admiration, respect, and a warmth she couldn't ignore. Daniel noticed her staring and smiled awkwardly. "What?" he asked. "You," she whispered. "You changed everything I believed about people." He blushed, scratching his neck. "I'm just doing my best." "Exactly," she said. "And that's what makes you extraordinary." Their lives slowly intertwined, not through dramatic declarations, but through the quiet moments that felt like home. Eve healed, not just physically, but emotionally. Daniel learned that he deserved love again, and in the end, the message was simple: titles don't save lives. Hearts do, and sometimes the person you overlook becomes the one who saves you in every way.